What's going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we are talking about James Gunn's first chapter in the new DC universe, Superman. In this newest iteration, we follow Superman as he must reconcile his alien Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as reporter Clark Kent. As the embodiment of truth, justice, and the human way, he soon finds himself in the world that views these as old-fashioned. Now, before we kick off this review, it is important to know what kind of Superman fan you are. As for me, I've always kind of knew the existence of Superman growing up, but I was always drawn to the material of the much darker heroes, like Batman. So, while there are many people who know the comic books and animated iterations as well as the live action adaptations, my first introduction to Superman's world and origins was Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. I know I'm on an island with this, but I actually loved Man of Steel. And I'm not a comic book reader, so I ended up seeking out more animated features to learn more about the character, what kind of other iteration stories it had to tell, and where the character could go in the future. And I finally even watched the old Christopher Reeve movies, finally. While I can admit that there is a charm when it comes to the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies, they are a batch of films that I can respect more than I can rewatch. And while there was a lot of positive feedback when it came to Zack Snyder's R-rated cut of Justice League and the Henry Cavill cameo at the end of Black Adam, I really thought we were going to get back on track with the DCEU. But then there was the merger that happened with Warner Brothers, and change was inevitable. They really wanted to wipe their slate clean with James Gunn and Peter Safran at the helm of it all. Therein followed a lot of discourse online, especially with James Gunn attempting to answer everyone's questions with what the DC Universe's slate and future is going to be like. And as the updates came in, as the dates drew nearer as to the first chapter of the Gods and Monsters phase, I really had my reservations of who was going to play Superman and what kind of story they were going to tell, and was it going to deliver? Starting out with the positives, this movie opens up very much like a comic book or any of the animated features, where you were just dropped into the middle of an occurring event in the middle of the action. And I think Gunn just decided to skip the retelling of the origin story and just go straight away into giving us Superman's third year in Metropolis, where this city is getting attacked and evacuated on the daily. It's a bold move, but it's not going to hold any hands of any casual viewers who are getting introduced to a world of metahumans in the DCU for the first time. I mean, you can tell right away within the first 15 to 30 minutes that this movie feels like a train that just took off, and the only way to get a ride is to just jump on. I mean, another good example would have to be that if you ended up watching Empire Strikes Back before you saw A New Hope first, or if you ended up watching The Dark Knight but didn't watch Batman Begins. The internet has been ragging on the special and visual effects since Man of Steel, so from the early trailers to the final product, I can definitely say that it knocked it out of the park. Even the dog looked convincing. And the cinematography that beautifully complemented the VFX work was just breathtaking. And even from the color schemes to how a lot of their costumes, a lot of the cosmic power beams that were just bursting out of each and every metahuman just felt so fantastical. We're also still waiting to confirm if Robert Pattinson's Batman is going to be a part of this DCU slate or if they're going to bring in another actor, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around about how The Dark Knight is going to contrast well with this world, because eventually we're going to have Gotham clash with Metropolis. Also, I love the score by David Fleming and John Murphy. It was just so majestic and epic, and even when they had their new rendition of John Williams' iconic score, oh my God, they gave me goosebumps. Getting into the talent here, we got Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and she was so on point. I mean, just right in the middle between Kidder and Adams. I mean, I wasn't a big fan about Margot Kidder's hot mess and stubborn portrayal of Lois Lane, but I also didn't mind Amy Adams in the Snyderverse. We get to skip the nuance of Lois and Clark beating around the courtships, where I actually love the way that Lena was written here and just how it offers Brosnahan to be strongly opinionated, ask the hard questions, and just be completely conflicted between her career and her relationship with an alien. Superpowers or not, I admire the fact that she was willing to put her life on the line to get shit done. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Not my favorite antagonist in the Superman universe, but ultimately, this might possibly be my favorite on-screen portrayal of that villain. I swear, Luthor is just petty, he's narcissistic, he is just evil in the sake of being evil, just because he despises Superman's moral fiber. This man seriously just wakes up every day and goes, "Good morning, minions. So, how are we going to mess up Superman's day to day?" From the get-go, Luthor is like 10 steps ahead of systematically trying to ruin the reputation of our hero, and after scurrying around in battles over the years with Superman, he finally has assembled the proper henchmen to bring him down physically. Hoult's performance as Luthor, both subtle and bombastic, is charismatically and provokingly outstanding. Essentially, I was actually nervous with the involvement of the Justice Gang and Krypto and how much they were going to impact the story and aid Superman in his first movie, and rightfully so. They utilized each and every one of them to the right degree where they didn't overstay their welcome. First of all, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, he was hilarious. He's basically the comic relief, and the way that he showcased his Green Lantern powers only made me excited for the future of the other Lanterns to come. We have Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl, and I feel like she got the short end of the stick, where she didn't really get a lot of time and room to really spread her wings. And then there's Eddie Gathegi. I hope I'm not messing up that name. I never really heard it said out loud, but he plays Mr. Terrific. I have no idea who this character was. I knew jack about the character, and he really took everyone by surprise, including myself. He was hilarious, and also, he was a complete badass. I really hope they give him his own movie, and if not, maybe a TV show. And then there's Krypto. Oh man, what so adorable and cute and so chaotic. I wanted to see more of him, but I feel like we didn't need him that much. We didn't need him, okay? He's too cute. We should put him away. Alas, we have David Cornsweet as Kal-El, aka Clark Kent, aka Superman. Now, I have not necessarily sat long enough with this movie for me to consider him my Superman. Henry Cavill still is, but having said that, I think Cornsweet's performance and presence is both charming, warm, and valiant. You know, the reason why Superman was never my favorite to begin with growing up was that he was always overpowered, and I could not relate to that character. I loved him, but I don't know, I just couldn't necessarily find the humanized portion of him. And the way that he is in the most vulnerable state here humanizes him for me to where I can actually invest myself into the character's journey and for them to overcome these obstacles no matter what they're capable of, no matter how strong they are. Although Henry Cavill's Dark Superman is just what drew me in, I think Cornsweet's persona of being the old do-gooder, being the Boy Scout superhero, was just really meant to be. It made a lot of the boring traits of Superman really just slap a big fat smile across my face. And it was a choice for them to have Clark really question his Kryptonian lineage, but I really think it complemented the relationship of Ma and Pa Kent just to be a little more sweeter despite the amount of minimalistic screen time. Getting into my mixed to slightly negative opinions, for a tight 2-hour runtime, there's a lot of information and details that are more tell and no show for a first movie, and it makes Gunn's script feel very clunky. There are a lot of plot devices and conveniences that are pretty much brushed off in one sentence, and it would have been nice to get a little bit of a visual or some kind of flashback to catch us up. I mean, I don't need to be spoon-fed every little bit of explanation, but if you are going to make creative changes or make certain plot points integral, give them a little more space to breathe, give them a little bit more time. I mean, for example, you know, they bring up about how Clark Kent's glasses can somehow disguise his Superman persona, about how, we probably don't see him the same way that, you would see Superman. But, again, they're just talking about it. They never really give you much of a visual or much more of an example. It's just brushed off in one sentence. Or, no one on Earth, not a human, not a metahuman, have ever come into contact nor tested the material of kryptonite, and somehow it's public knowledge that it is Superman's weakness? Come on. Even the more emotional and moving moments didn't have a chance to stand on their own because it is immediately undercut by the next joke or the next action set piece. Overall, that scene in the trailer where Lois is interviewing Clark as Superman, where things go from playful to gradually defensive, was my favorite movie moment of the year. Although this movie may have felt overstuffed, a little on the nose with its political message, and left me wanting more, I am hungry for more DCU. I think no matter how you decide to dissect this movie, a lot of the hardcore fans and a lot of the casual moviegoers are going to walk away with more to be satisfied about than not. This new Superman is fun, bold, extravagant, and soars loud and proud into the era of tomorrow. Well, alright guys, that's all I get to share about that movie. Go ahead and check it out on the biggest screen possible. Look forward to more reviews. I'm Jaren, but now I'm going to want to thank you guys again for taking some time out of your day to hear me talk some movies. I'll see you guys at the theater. In the meantime, take care.